doing, man?
Oh, I'm great. Enjoying finally some nice weather for November and excited for tonight. I mean, we got some good stuff going this week.
Isn't it funny how we're like happy if we get a 65-degree day, or like we're like this is
Yeah,
summer in November? There's a
yeah,
guy who gets this every day of the year, Dane, who doesn't have any complaints about the weather. So
yeah.
yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a long time. And as you know, Dan, we look back over the seasons one and two. We talked about the influences that some of these guests have left on our lives, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I was able to keep in touch with my buddy Nate Parrish from Nate. He's got a solo stuff, Soul Surgery, great album. You guys got to check it out. Drop the link. Obviously, Cutlass does a great thing with the Resurrection Church. Just all around great human being. No flaws at all. Has long flowing Samson like hair. Great.
Oh yeah.
Debatable his Batman preferences, but not a lot of flaws. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and hop off now. Okay, since you brought up Batman. Yeah,
Yeah, man. No.
dude, stoked to be here. Thanks for inviting me. You may hear my son yelling stuff in the other room, but don't be alarmed. He's just a toddler. So
It's okay.
Okay.
Dane does it all the time, so it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
par for the course. You know, Nate, before we get into the episode tonight, Dane and I really were thinking about this. So I know we have a lot of banter. Nate, you and I talk weekly. We have a lot of back and forth Batman banter. But let's think about this for a second, man. All seriousness, what if Adam West, Ben Affleck, because Dane, you're an Adam West guy, you're a Ben Affleck guy, and I am a Pattinson guy. What if they got in the ring though with their bat suits on? I mean, who's coming away with the W, dude? Like, this is a three-way tie. Let's get real for a minute. Like, who's gonna come away with the win? You know what I mean? So
it's hard to say. I'll tell you who's not for sure. It's Adam West.
that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
Adam West just from a physical standpoint,
Yeah.
he's built like my toddler. So
Yeah.
I think if we're going physical strength, it's going to be Affleck, 100%.
Yeah, Affleck does. I will say this: he is stronger. That's for sure. All respect. But dude, we've had this discussion, and now I can't even argue with you more because now there's a new Batman coming up, dude. Like we got a new guy
Yeah,
with Jensen Ackles or something. Like, where are you from, bro? Like, what are you from,
yeah,
Heartland, or how
yeah.
does he fit this scenario? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
a lot to
yeah.
keep track of. We forget about Keaton. I love Keaton. I really do.
Yeah.
Did,
Oh yeah,
But
he was a good one.
it's just the Affleck character from The Dark Knight Returns. Like I love that.
yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
grizzled, not afraid to break some bones. I love
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
he
Oh yeah.
he he stretches the boundaries a little bit, man. So I get it, man. But we'll save that, Nate. I said we'll have to have kind of a whole Batman episode one time.
Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah,
to that at some point, Nate. It's good to have you back, dude. Again,
yeah,
since
man.
I got
Yeah.
the chance to meet you,
Absolutely.
I love what you're doing with Res Church, man. I'm gonna be serious for a second. Your episode, your recent message, your sermon was great, dude. You said some things, Nate, that I have to touch on. I love how you're very obviously well known in the music world, but you're also very humble. You don't care if someone maybe thinks the same way you do or not. You're going to love them. You're going to open your arms and give them a big hug. There's something to be said about someone who knows where they are and what they believe, but also you
Yeah.
welcome everyone. And Nate, I commend you for that. Thank you for being one of those
Absolutely.
people where it just makes me love what you do even more, man. I love that. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, man. Speaking of that, there's a local hero. We always make it a point, Nate, and thanks for doing
Yeah.
this. There's a local hero. We make it a point at least maybe once or twice a month to bring back somebody local that's doing a
Yeah.
great thing for the community. And nobody can fit that bill better than this gentleman we have coming on tonight, Austin Renfro. Has a great solo career going, does a great thing with
Yeah.
this church, New Spring, that he does, always giving back to the community, has the voice of an angel. Like when you hear him sing, you feel like you've already like made it to heaven when you hear it because you're like, man, it's so
Yeah. There you
angelic
go.
and all that. But then it's also got this like cool hair, got the vibe. You guys might have to compete for the better hair day. I'm not sure. Got this
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
got this cool kind of Joe Diffie mustache going, just a cool presence,
Love it.
So
Yeah.
before I waste any more time and fanboy out, I want to bring on our friend Austin Renfro. Austin, how you doing, man?
Wonderful. Dane, Josh, Nate, great to be here with you guys tonight. All too kind things. And obviously, I'm going to defer to Nate for the coolest hair by far. Mine, it's so funny. Somebody this last weekend, they were asking me, I've been at New Spring Church for almost 9 years. And they were kind of razzing me. They were like, do you remember back when you had like really cool hair and you to care about clothes that you wore, obviously, and you were just so cool. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, I just got tired of, making people think something that wasn't there. I'm really not that cool. The hair, the hair has just been an act of obedience. It's so funny. My whole life I've had short hair, never had long hair. And
Yeah.
I just felt like the Holy Spirit was like, man, like grow your hair out. And I was like,
Yeah, there you go.
for what? And he was like, I want to reveal some things to you and to the people around you. And it's been such a great journey to do. I mean, literally, first time in my life I've ever grown my hair out, and to do it in this season, it's been a really cool spiritual experience, which I'm sure other people with long hair would say it is a spiritual experience, but for me, legit, like it's been awesome. But default to Nate on best hair by far.
Nate, can you top that story, Nate? That's pretty good one, Nate, on the hair.
Man, no, I think it's just I just forgot, to cut my hair. Here I am.
I love it. Very, 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 I got it. Well, Austin, again, I say this, man, and the videos that we've been displaying across this, I appreciate you, Austin. I mean it in all seriousness, man. We joke a lot, but thank you for what you do, Austin, for the community. You're very humble, but it's a good balance where your worth. You're a talented musician, piano player, guitarist, singer. It's good that you know your worth, but you're also very humble. Your solo stuff is legit. I get this kind of feeling of like this Mendez, Clapton, Mayer feel. It's very chill, but also very inspirational at the same time.
Yeah.
Even a little like One Republic, man. It's just kind of got this blend of the scene, right? So I'm going to dive into some questions Nate and I have for you. Also, I'm going to go first. Obviously, even before New Spring, even before the solo stuff, dude, which is fantastic. Maybe take me back to when you got the bug, maybe back early on in the day. When did you maybe first pick up a guitar, piano? What was the first thing? And when did you get the itch to do all this,
I always was around music, so I think that's an important thing. Just as a backdrop, my mom, growing up, my dad was a pastor. My mom was playing piano for the choirs and helping direct and do all that stuff. So I took a ton in choir rehearsals. Like I never was really into music. I was just always around music. And then in my teenage years, my mom began writing, and so there was a home studio at the house. I really wasn't that curious about any of the equipment. It was really my brother who were very competitive, but like whether it was sports or video games or whatever it was, I saw kind of what music was doing for him, and I wanted in on the action. And other people, you thank God for the people in your life that encouraged you kind of along the way. Maybe, and for me, and I have the privilege of getting to do that now for other people, of being like, hey, you have a gift, you have a talent, and that kind of you're different. Hearing that from people along the way with music was, even before my passion for music, was really, really important. And so it wasn't until I was about 15 or 16, I had played trumpet in middle school and high school band. And my sophomore year, I was like, I got to find something else, man. This is not working for me. Sports isn't working. Video games wasn't quite a career at the time. But I really loved what music was doing in my brother's life. And so I was like, okay, I'll try the drums. I'll try the piano. I'll try guitar. Singing was more of a means to an end. And then I had a guitar teacher that told me, he was the first person I ever met where like light bulb. He was like, I wrote songs for my wife and she loved them. And I was like, girls like guys with skills. And I really like skills that girls like. I'm not that great of an athlete. So I'm going to start writing songs because that seems to work. And so it was really like more of what could music do for me all through that time. And I really wasn't in love with music yet. I was in love with what I saw it do for other people. And I was around great musicians. I mean, all dudes that are like winning Grammys, making music to this day, have had a ton of success, who I still look up to. But it really wasn't until the end of high school that I was like, man, I really enjoy writing. Like I enjoy the process of writing. I enjoy picking up a guitar. My grandfather played guitar, but I had never played a chord on guitar until I was like a freshman in high school. And so it was really progressive for me. There was never, I can't go back to a moment and say, here's when I really like, oh man, I knew I loved music. It was, I fell in love with every aspect of music as I was just kind of, I call it Forrest Gumping my way through the music industry.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I'm writing notes, and Dane, I mean, I can't even make a better answer. And Nate, you could talk about that for a second, man. Like, I mean, the journey, man, just music, that's kind of your thing too, Nate. The music just found you, would you say, Nate? Or?
Music found me for sure. Growing up loving music, but not really understand. I didn't even know what it was. I got a cassette tape when I was like 8 or 7 or something. I didn't know what it was. And they're like, oh, that's that song that you like on MTV. Oh, cool. What do I do with this? And then I didn't pick up guitar till pretty late. I didn't start till 18 with guitar and stuff. But yeah, music, like you said, is progressive. For me, this is same thing. I've sort of Forrest Gumped as well. My philosophy has always been just do what's in front of you, in a way of service. So like, I started playing guitar in worship because they said, "Oh, you look cool. You must play guitar. Do you want to join the worship team?" Like, yeah, okay. And just do that, and then that's been a progressive thing, you know.
I love it. Dan, that's cool. Go with two, Dan. You want to go?
Yeah, Austin, with all the things that you've done, the people you've played in front of, obviously at the church and things, what are some of maybe the more memorable events that you've done, or maybe a gig or something like that, that you can kind of tell us about?
Yeah. You know, my mom, one of my most memorable gigs. So my mom, as I got into high school, then became very successful in what she was doing. Wasn't just writing, but was writing, and she was doing comedy, stand-up comedy on the road. And so she was doing a conference at the time called Women of Faith. And so I had the opportunity to go play in front of a lot of people with her. So I got to cut my teeth, not just in coffee shops and, you know, bars and other places where my friends were playing, but I also got to go and have a little bit of a taste of what life is kind of on the road without having to really pay my dues. So thanks, Mom. Appreciate you. But when I did have success on my own, and I was really doing probably like my second or third big tour, I was doing the college scene. And so NACA, National Association of Campus Activities, is kind of like this hodgepodge of people whose careers are doing this and other people who have had success for a long time, not necessarily coming down, but that it's another way to generate revenue, put food on the table. Massive respect for people that just grind. And so I was doing my first like 100+ show run for that year. And no, it was probably my second one, because I remember there was a unique frustration. I had gotten to this campus and they didn't really promote the event very well, so there weren't a lot of people there, but it was in a big venue. And there's nothing worse. Like, my favorite room is a full room. You know, even if it's my office and there's 2 people sitting here, if it's packed, my favorite room. And so I called my mom. I don't know why, man. I don't like, it's not like a normal thing for me to just like pick up the phone and be like, bad things are happening. But I called her and I, hey, you know, I'm like seething. Like, they've got this huge room. They obviously didn't promote it. I care deeply. I want people, you know, to be at the show. I want to make fans. I wasn't there for a paycheck. And she said something to me that made the night so memorable. She said, Austin, you know, I know the feeling. I've been there plenty of times. But what you want to remember is you play for the people that come, not the ones that don't.
Ooh,
and so I'm not kidding. There were 4 people on the front row of a room that sat about 500. And it changed my perspective, because I was like, because she then challenged me. She said, what you need to do is, in these moments where you're frustrated, you know, go out and put on make it your goal to make it the best show you've ever played in your life. And man, that stuck with me more than anything else. You know, I leave the results now in a spiritual way. I leave it up to the Lord to take care of it. But to help my heart in ministry, to be able to remember, like, whoever God's put in front of me in that moment is who I have the opportunity to serve. So that was an invaluable lesson. And it wasn't anything like, you know, I've played in front of 1 million people. I've got to do some really cool events, but like, all of that pales in comparison to the lessons that you glean, or the experience that you get to have, that really helps you along in the journey. So that's one of my favorite moments.
That's the best answer, Nate. The player who's there, right? That's crazy, man. And Austin, I think about this, Nate, before you take 3. Austin, I remember a time when you were playing All My Hope. Like, you probably, at this point, is old hat for you, but you're doing a live cover, and you were sitting there and you were just getting down, man. I was watching you play, and I'm like, remember how much I started crying? I was in the audience watching you play. I'm like, this really got to me. And like, now, like, I think people like yourself that have done it through a sense of humility, all with the aspect of helping someone. Music is, not everybody can play music. Let's be real. I'm glad you can. Let's be fair. I'm glad you've taken that gift and given it to others to help others. And when you do that, you take this talent that you have, and people need music. It is a emotion swayer. It can change the direction of what you're feeling, the way you're going, all those things. So thank you for, man, just more times than I can count, hearing you sing, I'm like, wow, this is what you're meant to do. It's very clear this is what you're meant to do, man. So I'll fanboy out. They help me out, man, before I get off track with questions. So
I want a fanboy too. That's a great answer, man. I love that.
Yeah.
I get the feeling, man. I've done a few different things in music, and one of my last local shows was like 25 people or something, and I was like, oh, cool. And sometimes it's hard to a lot of what you do is performing is feeding off the crowd.
Right.
So it's a little difficult when there's no crowd. But that's a great perspective, because you really never know what's going to come out of that show and that audience and the connection that you made there. And every time, without fail, if I get a little discouraged, there's always like a person that will contact me later or whatever that was at the show. And so, yeah, you're right. We play for the people that were there. Don't worry about the other ones.
good. Yeah, man. That's fantastic. Nate, you want to go with 3, the influence question? That's great.
Yeah. So artistically, you're primarily guitar. I mean, do you play multi-instrumentalist? What would you say is your biggest artistic influence?
Well, as far as like what I do, I don't do a lot of things very well. A lot of everything, what I found was everything just kind of became a means to an end, as a writer and as a producer, and over the years, just getting to watch people's process and see the different pieces that they use. I really thank God, for me, I spent such a long time building my own kingdom that it was a transition, definitely a big one in my life, into ministry. And so I had to learn how, one, not grieve the things that I had spent time or wasted time doing, because, God's the only one that can redeem the years that the locust ate. But I see that in my music journey too. Right now, a lot of what I do is kind of out of not only opportunity, but necessity, versus back in the day when I was touring. Like I played piano good enough to play the show and the songs that were in my catalog, but I'm not a great piano player. I'm a good enough acoustic player to, emote and kind of tell the story that I want to with the music, but I'm not a great guitar player. And so, for me, it's always been kind of singing as the primary instrument. I love singing. I love helping other people, unlock different places in their voice and the journey that I've been on. But musically, because I was such a late bloomer, Nate, a lot like you, it was like 18, 19 before, music really started to become a passion of mine. And so I had a very quick learning curve that I had to make. And what I did was I was exposed mainly to like Leonard Skinner or like whatever was, Christian music. Whatever my parents were listening to was what I was listening to, like Brooklyn Tabernacle.
I dig it.
Old Kirk Franklin, which is great. Like the world that I'm in now, that like I cannot be more thankful for that. But I really didn't listen to a lot of music. I listened to what my brother listened to, what my parents listened to. And so when it came to musical influences, I really had to figure that stuff out. I didn't really have a palette developed yet, especially for writing. So I went and asked all of the people that I admired and respected. And I was like, hey, give me, this is like pre-Spotify, pre-streaming. So I had to either go physically get the CDs and burn them, or get them onto my computer, or I bought the music on iTunes. And so I asked all of these people that I respected, like, give me your favorite artists, give me your, who's your favorite, because I was writing at the time too. So I'm like, I want to give me your favorite writers. And I put together like a best of writers, and I hated all of the music. I mean, Beatles, like all of these people, I mean, just crazy. And I was like, all of this music is garbage. I couldn't understand the value in it yet, because I was too immature. My palate wasn't as refined yet. So vocally, I did the same thing. I was like, hey, who are the people? And it was like, Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin and Otis Redding, and it was all of these different people. For me, like my big two, as far as like training partners that really inspired me, were Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder. I mean, I spent so much time picking apart the nuances of what they were doing and just being inspired. I mean, inspiration, taking something in, allowing it to become you, and then putting it out. So these were the people that I was like being inspired by, but I had to develop that over time. But what ended up happening was I then found the other offshoot artists, like the Mark Broussards or the Johnny Langs, had had that soul and that passion. Those were the voices and those were the writers. And then it went from there. But I would say, like, as far as musical influences vocally, it was really Stevie Wonder, Otis Redding, Ray Charles, Mariah, just the people that, hey, here's the best vocalists, go listen to them. Those were the big ones for me.
That's spot on. I mean, Nate, you can't script a better answer than that. That's perfect. Austin, I'm with you, man. Like, obviously, I've seen you. I've watched you play so many times. And Nate, I'm going to say this, Nate, because he's too modest. He's a stud player. I've watched him play many times. I've watched him play guitar and piano. Austin, you are very good. I know you're modest. That's cool, but you're a stud, bro. Let's be real. So you're good. But no, that's the whole. Go ahead, Dane.
I was just going to say, those are some great inspirations, people to draw from, because, you know, like you said, I'm not as versed in the music as you guys are. And you can still, when you listen to them over and over again, you can hear how complex they're, you know, how they put it together. So complex. I mean, you hear something different every time you hear it. And Josh introduces me to a lot of new music that, you know, I'm older than him. So whenever he introduces me to something, I kind of take what you were saying as you were saying it. That's kind of how I listen to things now, is, okay, I don't want to hear it just once. I have to hear it 4 and 5 times. And then the more you hear it, the more you enjoy it, because you pick something out that you didn't hear the first 3 or 4 times. So that's a great point.
I love it. Then go with 4, man.
And so now that you're coming along this far in your career, you know, and we're pretty much getting to the end of 2023, what's next for you coming up into the end of this year and into 2024? Are there some things on the horizon that you're looking forward to?
Absolutely. At this point in my career, I love writing. I love singing. I love not only the development of my craft in all of these different areas. I mean, I write every single day. Every day I'm writing, I'm co-writing, I'm writing with other people. I love, like I said, whether it's vocally or from a creative standpoint, like helping other people progress in their journey. Because I'm just so grateful, not only to God, but to all of the people that have poured into my life. Anybody, you know, if you take a second and just reflect on your life, you know, you're going to find those people that really stick out above the rest. I'm so thankful for those people. I couldn't imagine, you know, being here, sitting with you guys, having this conversation right now, if it wasn't for them. And I want to get to be that for other people. So everything I do is around community, you know, the obviously faith-based through New Spring, but also I have my own company called Vocal Athletes, where I work with artists all over the world, where I get to help them in their craft. But locally, it's also a lot of writing. I host writing nights at my house, where I just try to help people, you know, through various things that I've learned or tools and resources that I have. And so I'm working with a lot of really great people right now. And even at the church, there's just I feel like God's just stirring up something right now inside of us. And my job is just to be ready to catch it when it hits my hands. Like it from a process standpoint, like vocally, you know, am I ready to go out for the next opportunity? And from a writing standpoint, it's like writing is just about the practice of writing. Production, or the process of like getting a great vocal take or whatever it is. Like, I'm just staying ready for whatever that is. I'm not 100% sure what that is right now. I just know from like an outsider in standpoint, like, oh, you're writing, you're releasing music, you're doing all this stuff. It's not about that. It's just about every day when you really love something, go back up to do it again. And God's going to take care of the rest of it. So I would say this next season for me creatively, I'm just excited to continue showing up, to see how God is going to bless whatever that I'm going to put my hands to, you know, that.
Dane, doesn't that make you think of LVO from, you know, we have that Rockstar Academy, and you do this, the vocal, I knew about your vocal academy thing, and it's cool. And there's a thing, I'd say this to you, Austin and Nate, both of you. I love it that you have a very strong presence in the faith, but you also, it doesn't matter who you're working with. You're going to open your arms and give them a big hug and work with whoever. And there's something I just cannot say enough about that to both of you. Both of you gentlemen, thank you for that. You're working with artists, and it's cool that maybe they're doing in your lane, or maybe they're doing something completely opposite. You're helping others achieve their goals. And that's
Yeah.
Just take the hat off. I can end it now, but I'm not. I'm going to go into a session, Austin and Nate. Nate, you're familiar with this. You're an OG to this. So there's a segment that we're going to transition to, Austin. I promise you, in like media or things that you've done, you probably haven't had a segment quite like this. What we usually do, they do not have these answers. Now, Nate, my apologies. We're going to spring these on you ad hoc style. We've got 5 questions. And what it's going to be is we're going to bet on what we think Austin's going to pick. And you got to kind of just jump in, Nate. We'll give you a chance to pick your answer. Austin, these are 5 questions. Check this out. Imagine past or present for a moment. Reality doesn't exist. You just got to kind of go with your heart. There's a Rorschach test. No wrong answer. You just got to pick what you think the right answer is. Dane and I bet on what we think you're going to say.
Yeah.
Okay? So the segment's called Rapid Fire. So, Austin, you ready?
Ready.
Oh, here we go. So first question. You're called up, obviously, off season. They say, hey, Austin, things are going great for you. Thanks for what you're doing at New Springs Local. Random request. We want you to come play a gig at the Super Bowl, and you get to pick to play with one of these 2 guys. You're going to fill in as the lead guitarist, and you have to sing a duet on stage with one of these 2 guys. You can go with Shawn Mendes or John Mayer for a halftime appearance where you're doing a duet. Which one are you going with?
Mayer. I mean, it's not. I love Shawn. I love his voice. I love the artist that he's turning into. But I mean, come on, dude.
Let's go. I had Mayer. Dane, what about you?
Oh yeah, definitely Mayer.
Okay, Nate, what about you? What'd you have, Nate?
John Mayer.
Let's go. Okay, so we're all tied on that one. So the winner gets lunch, by the way. So it's going to get deeper and darker. Here we go. So next one. So Austin, your piano skills are very good. You're really good at tickling the ivory. So these 2 artists say, hey, we need you to fill in. We're going back to 1993. Music's booming, pre-internet and all that kind of stuff. Somehow you get transplanted back in the 90s with the cool hair, the mustache. You're planted back in time. Would you like to fill in for the night for, check this out, this is a hard one, for the boss, Bruce Springsteen? Or would you like to fill in on the pianos for the Cranberries for the night? Springsteen, Cranberries, which one are you going with?
It's Springsteen. I mean, it's legendary status.
Let's go.
Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Dane?
Yeah, there was no other way to answer that. It's the boss.
I actually had the Cranberries, man, because I'm a 90s baby. But what about you, Nate? What'd you have, man? So,
It's tough. I just talked about Bruce Springsteen. I literally just talked about how much I love him.
Man,
Dude, go with Cranberries. We go with Cranberries.
That's what I had too, because it's like there's because they just did that, like the Bad Wolves piano version of that. It's so epic. I'm like, I actually had you for that. So all right, Dane, we're tied, Dane. So I'll get you back. So Austin, check this out. You're also called up. Next question. You get called up to be a celebrity judge. Voice shows and things like that are all the rage these days. There's so many. The Masked Singer, The Voice, American Idol. You could throw a rock and hit a vocal show. But they say, hey, we'd like you to be a celebrity guest for a season for either A, you can pick American Idol or The Voice. Austin, which one are you going to be a part of?
Ooh, now this one gives you pause.
Yeah.
Let me think about this. You said rapid fire, but this one really requires like, all right. Mm-hmm.
I already got what I'm going to say. I know what you're going to say, bro. Just spit it out because I know what you're going to say.
That is brutal. That is brutal. I'm
gonna make it weird.
I'm gonna say The Voice. And here's why. It's just the atmosphere.
Yeah.
People that put that together, and they do such a great job. And sorry to all my friends if you're watching this, and I paused that. I had to think about it, man. Like I don't know.
It's all good, man.
People that I know or all the people that I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No wrong answer, man. Dane, what'd you have on that? Did you have Voice?
Yeah, I had The Voice, definitely.
Yeah. Nate, what'd you have?
The Voice.
Let's go. All right, man. This is awful. We're all tied right now. No. Okay. So 2 more. So this is gonna throw you off. I promise you, Austin. I know what you're gonna pick. They call you up. You get a chance to write with there's legendary artists and always kind of ghost writers. Those are a very big thing. So you're writing a ghost album for Blake Shelton. They said, hey, I want you to come in, do a ghost concept album. And this is the thing. You get to work with several artists. The concept has to be about, check this out, for Blake's album, you got to write about either A, silly string, or make the whole album about yo-yos. You got to make it cool. You're presenting this to Blake Shelton, yo-yos or silly string. Which topic you going with?
Silly string. There's just so much depth there.
I actually had you for yo-yos, bro. That's my first one I got wrong. Dane, how about you?
Yeah, I had the yo-yos too. I was thinking of Tommy Smothers type of thing.
Let's go. Nate, what about you, Nate? What'd you have?
Yo-yos sounds country to me. It's ups and downs, it's twists and turns, it's tricks, it's all
yeah.
yo-yos, bro.
I love it, man. I did not have that. Okay. So
I'll tell you why Silly String, okay? Silly String, there's so much anticipation, like all the songs that you could write about having something, seeing something, like a potential relationship, a future.
Yeah. Wrapped
okay?
up. I got you.
Got the future, you know, we're the party waiting to happen.
Making a mess. You make a song about making a mess and
emotional
apologizing, you know.
Yes, but so like you were talking about, Nate, with the ups and downs and all that stuff. There's also this moment with Silly String, you know, you hit it and it's like it's a good time, but there's an empty feeling, right? There's
yeah.
Wow, this is getting deep, man.
Ever, man, like you just keep going. The Silly String, once it's over, that's country. Because you know, it's not just the cleanup. You know, hey, we made a big mess. Got like, you
oh, here it comes.
Smell you on my clothes. you got like that aspect of it, but then like it's dried and it's crushed. It's like there's just so many. Like I just love like all of the word pictures that you could paint from like each season of
bleeding through my bleeding shirt, my bleeding heart. We could go off for days, man. So,
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And see, that's why you guys are geniuses. You came up with all that in a matter of what, 20 seconds, and I had nothing.
We just wrote a verse at least.
Yeah, that's a section about Silly String, man. Like all the things, like my heart is dripping with the red. We could go on, man. It's crazy. So awesome. That was fantastic, dude. The last one. This is for you, Nate. This is for you, bro. So Austin, you're also called up. Movie franchises get remade all the time, Austin. So stepping away from your typical wheelhouse, they want you to write a musical score for one of these two icons. Check this out. You can write, Austin, a musical score, a total refresh, revamp thing for Darth Vader or the one and only Batman. Which musical score are you going to write for, Austin?
Ooh, I ain't touching Vader, man. That John Williams, like you can't, don't even. But I feel like Batman's been done so many different times that depending on the era in which you were introduced to Batman or any of the films, there's so much opportunity to not mess it up. I'm gonna go down that path. It's the path of least resistance, honestly.
It's crazy because I'm wrong again. I had you for Vader. I really did. I was like, that's, you know. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I had Vader. I don't know why, but I had Vader. I didn't.
Nate?
Like I say, you guys going down a different path because you're a little bit more or a lot more creative than I am.
Batman, like you said, there's certain things, like I'm up for a challenge for sure, but like trying to redo the Vader thing, which literally every person on Earth knows, it's just nothing you can do. And I will gonna throw this out: if you listen to the soundtrack for the Batman, the Pattinson,
no.
It is. It's the same.
No.
It's the same, bro. He did rip off Vader. Dun,
so,
dun, 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 dun.
So,
missing one note. That's it.
Austin, we had this debate. Nate and I talk quite often. I said, bro, best soundtrack if he goes, hashtag Darth Vader, mic drop. That's all he said. I was like, man, that's messed up. So
put them up side by side. Listen to them.
That's true. That is true. Well, Austin,
really experience.
Austin, I appreciate you, man. Hopefully in interviews that you've done, it's a little something different, Austin. Thanks for being a good sport, man. So appreciate you. It looks like I was last and Nate and Dane, you guys tied. You guys can work it out for lunch. I'm out. I'm not one you guys can work it out. So, but no, thank you again. The final segment, that's actually you, Nate. I'll give that final segment to you, man, for Austin.
Cool. So Austin, nice meeting you, by the way. I also lead worship on Sunday morning. So oftentimes I'm playing a punk show on Saturday night and then leading worship on a Sunday morning. So it's a really fun dichotomy and challenging on my vocals. But for you, what does that look like in your world? Because you do worship, you write songs in general, you write with this person or that person. What are the challenges of maybe kind of having your hands in all these different genres and different I don't know what you would say, but different worlds, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely. the challenges are there. For me, I don't really necessarily look at, even though they could be seen as challenges, I look at them as opportunities. And I know that God's going to provide exactly what I need in the season, especially when I'm doing my due diligence, not only seeking him first, but also, from a vocal health standpoint, I teach once I leave. So we have 4 services on the weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And that's after a day of run throughs, leading into the service, getting details, preparing our hearts, all that stuff. And then I leave Sunday after the second service. I come home and I see about 5 clients, and it's an hour each session. So I work, part of my training is training with them. If you want to look at it that way, from a conditioning standpoint. And then, my work week, because I'm full-time at the church, but I also have all these other creative endeavors. I'm also a dad. My son's 4, have a newborn infant, daughters 2. And so I'm a dad, I'm a husband. And all of those things present new challenges. But again, they're opportunities. I don't look at my role as worship pastor or worship leader, whatever, title singing guy, I'm singing guy. Some people wouldn't even know what it is that I do, and they don't care. I think as they investigate your life, they want to know, are you serious about what you do? Do you love people? Do you love the Lord? And are you good at what you do? I think those are really the 3 things that, like, people initially will see that you're good, but they want to know that you care. And then the value level of what you care about is really a reflection of their own values. So for me, it's looking at every stage as a divine appointment that God has set up for me. Taking breaks, not cutting corners, resting when I need to rest. Obviously, as a vocal coach, and about Jan Smith, greatest vocal coach. Been working with her for coming up on 20 years now. As a mentor, and working with worship leaders and artists, and doing a lot of different things. So I'm just very thankful to God that he's given me the people and the information that I needed to have a career and sustain it, through this, with all of those challenges. But ultimately, they're opportunities I want to be ready for. So taking care of my voice, I drink a gallon, if not 2 gallons of water every day, hydration, resting when I can, knowing, managing that social calendar to make sure that I'm not, if I need to be at my peak, I'm going to be at my peak for the right times. You build your capacity as a vocalist so that you don't operate at 100%. It's people view the voice as like a grade on a paper. They're like, you're going to reach 100% one day, but really it's more like the stock market. Like, you want to be at the point where would you rather have 5% of a million or 100% of I'd rather build my capacity to where my endurance, my agility, my range, all of those things. If you're telling me I'm going to lose a step by the time I'm 50 and 60, then I want to make sure that step, I'm continuing to push my voice to the places that, maybe other people don't. So I know that day is going to, if the Lord doesn't come first or call me home. So it's being ready to do that, and helping other people do that as well. I just love people, and I love what God has placed hands in this season. So I want to do as much as I can with what he's given me.
Wow. I mean, Dane and Nate, like it's, I have to say this because I process a lot of times. I'll go back and listen as we're editing and all that. And Dane, we talk about this all the time. The next generation of artists is in great hands. Am I wrong? It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, like we always say, I tell my daughter, the gifts that you're given, the things that you can do, that you work hard on, they're gifts from God that they're not yours to keep. You pass them on, and you help somebody else that's on that path as well. That's where, interaction comes in, depending on the next person, you're working, his works go through you. So it'd be an instrument of God. It's like they said, you're doing a great job at Austin. Listen to how inspired you are doing what you're doing, and how the passion that you have for it is inspiring me. That's why I enjoy doing these interviews, and what Josh and I are talking to individuals like yourself and Nate. You get inspired to be better because of what you guys do. So I congratulate you, and at the same time, thank you for the message that you're giving.
For sure. There's Austin and Nate. There's this thing that I'm 37, so Austin, I got a few years on you, and Nate, I think we're about the same. We've talked, same age group. There's a time I remember growing up, man, and Nate knows this because Nate is a generation above me. There's a time when it was like making great music and also having a set of like beliefs. You couldn't do both. Like, I remember like when like things like DC Talk broke on the scene, like this Audio Adrenaline, these bands, right, in the 90s. It was like, wait, you can be a great musician and you can also have a core set of beliefs that you go after. It was like, now you guys, it's normal now to be a great musician and to have a specific a path that you take. It's very cool to see like this musician when you said like, hey, and Nate, you mentioned this too, maybe doing like punk stuff on the weekends. It's okay to do that and then come in on Sunday and still kind of give proper credit to God. That's really cool, this dichotomy where you can be a great musician and still have a specific set of beliefs. You don't have to compromise one for the other. So I commend you both for doing that. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Wow. Austin, Nate, did you want to expand on that, man?
It's great to meet you and hear your heart. Yeah, that's a great perspective. And yeah, like you said, for me, the whole punk rock thing early on, sometimes that's an issue for people, in the worship world. But I, just like literally today, there was a guy who plays in another thrash band that we do shows together. And he saw that I preached on Sunday and he didn't know. He's like, I didn't know that you preach. Can I come to your church?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you even ask? He's like, is that weird? No.
Yeah. That's cool.
But it's just a dude that, is in the local band and they rip and he's not a church going fella, but he's going to come. So
that's cool.
Wow.
Cool.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about,
Absolutely.
So, well, Austin, man, I'm telling you, man, I get the privilege of watching you play quite often. You're a very, very great musician. You have, I think, like you said, your heart's in the right place. I'll close on this, man. You guys said something, and me and Dane talked about this, Austin, and what made me like have the courage to come up and ask you, because I don't usually get very nervous, man. I apologize. When I messaged you recently, I was like, I'm a little bit nervous, man. I don't get very nervous very often, but you're talking about, I think you guys may have said you might have played like at a local prison or something. You're talking about that, and you and Mark, the Reverend, were like, hey, why would we not go to see everybody? We could have just been maybe one mistake away being in your shoes. And this whole humble thing you have, Austin, that's what makes me love you above all the talent, the great things that you're doing. You really are so humble, dude. And like you can't make up humility. And I commend you for being so humble with your gifts, man. We love you, dude. So
yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. All too kind. I think it's a reflection of where I've been. I know what God has brought me through, and I know to some degree what he spared me from in a lot of those things. My mistakes, I've been a lot of places, I've done a lot of things, and for all of the things that I've done, it's like, man, I just look at God's mercy and his grace in my life, and I'm very thankful for that. And I would say too, Nate, I love so much that I love when people don't understand why we do what we do. I think it's something that for me is a reminder that I'm exactly where I need to be, because if I'm not doing this, who would be, and, scripture makes it abundantly clear. The work is plenty, but the workers are few. And the field that we're given, it's like God puts passions inside of us, not to frustrate us, but to be used. And so whether it's punk rock or R&B or whatever it is, people need to be reminded, like, man, God created you. He loves you. He doesn't have a plan to frustrate you. He wants to prosper you. And so the things that bring us joy also delight him in those, when we're pursuing him areas, And so I love that, man. I love, and I'll be praying for your buddy, because that's exactly what it's about. How do you reach a lost world, man? It ain't sitting tight. It's not down, it's going out into it. And like you said, Jay, it's like, you gotta remember, like, all of us are one decision, one step away. Even now, even in my ministry, it's like, as a father, I'm one choice away from throwing it all away. We all are. We got to walk in truth. We got to seek the Lord in those things. And hopefully, through relationships like this, interactions that we have, be an encouragement to one another to keep fighting the good, run a good race, and remember that God's called us to the places that he's called us to.
Man, I love it, dude. Like Austin, thank you,
Yeah.
man. I could go, I could go on for hours. I know you got little ones and all that, like you said. And Austin, I'll close on this, man. Thank you for being a local hero. We get a
Yeah.
chance once or twice a month. We do, the show's worldwide. We're blessed. We bring it once or twice a month back to local heroes. Thank
Yep.
you on behalf of Dane and Nate and I for making time to do this.
Absolutely.
I'll see you this weekend, of course, man. But I just want to say thank you again and for taking time out of your busy schedule and blessing us because something we needed to hear, and I'm just grateful for your time. And let's make it a point to do it again soon, and we'll be cheering you on every step of the way. Okay, so
blessings to you guys. Thanks for having me on. It was great.
Of course, brother. Take care, man. You're welcome to drop off or listen as we talk good things about you. And have a good night, man. Appreciate you, bro. We'll be in touch, man.
Oh, wait, one more thing to Nate. So obviously got the text message right before we hopped on. My buddy, he's dying. Yeah, he's 34. He just turned 34. And man, just went over to be with him and his wife. He can't speak anymore. He's too weak. And we were talking through his funeral service and stuff, and just got to be with them and pray with them, and shed some tears and laugh a little bit. And I put on Cutlass on the drive home, man. It just ministered to me. I just love how your old catalog, can use to be a blessing. All of those things have stories and memories, and I have no idea what that season was like for you guys or what you're doing. But man, thank you for your faithfulness and doing what you do. It's still blessing. God's still using even stuff that you did, back in the day. So appreciate you, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. I'll pass that along to James. I'll shoot him a text. We'll appreciate that for sure, man.
Man. Austin, man, thank you, man. I hope this if evening you find some rest, man. I know you're a busy guy, so shout out to the whole family. Thanks again to the family for loaning us your time, and we'll be thinking of your buddy and thoughts and prayers, man. So Austin, I'll see you soon, man. I'll get this out, and we'll be in touch very soon. Okay, man. So
see you guys. Thank you.
Hey,
thank you, brother. So Dane, Nate, talk to me. What do you think of him? What a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, it's inspirational.
I don't know.
Okay.
I had to catch him while he was still on. Yeah, dude, he's rad. Really cool. It's nice to. So he's at New Spring. Is he in South Carolina?
Wichita, Kansas, man.
Wichita.
Kansas,
Okay, cool.
yeah. Kansas,
I have a bunch of friends that came from that world. The church I'm at was planted by guys from South Carolina, New Spring, and stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, man.
I think they even do their services online as well.
Yeah, okay, they do.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check. I didn't have a chance really to dive into his music, but I'll check that stuff out. Yeah, I really, it's nice to hear like that stuff from another like person that kind of is in that world too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's Nate. What I think of, because like I said, when I was prepping for this, I said, man, it was cool because it was almost like this Cosmo thing, right? I'm watching your stuff, and I'm like, man, it reminds me of you because you do this dichotomy of like, dude, you're a real dude. You have a great time. You shred. You play great guitar. It's awesome what you do, and then you also try to help people. It's like, dude, I can't think of a better like way to bring these worlds together. What you're doing on the scene, whether it's Cutlass or again with the local stuff, it's just it was cool, Dane. So what'd you think, Dane? That was awesome, right?
I mean, for everything that he does, it's comes from something bigger than him. Yeah. And that's what makes it so great. I mean, he's inspired by, so many people, so many things around him, and his faith drives him to do it all in a good way, and that's why, people have probably gravitated to him. And that's what I enjoyed about listening to him talk is just the passion he has for it. And it's all driven by his faith. So what better way to drive you in life?
People like him, Nate, and then like you in closing, Nate, because I appreciate your time. I remember how cool it was when we first had you on the first episode. I think Dane and I and you talked for 45 minutes, and about 30 minutes of it was about Transformers and Batman and things like that. It was so cool. Yeah. It was so cool because, don't get me wrong, everyone knows what you stand for. And again, we respect all walks of life. Like I told you, we've got friends in all faiths and all those kind of things, right? But we're like, I love how you were like, hey, this is me. Cool, let's talk Batman. It was like there was no pause. It was like, hey, come on, let's go have dinner. Let's hang out. Like there's something cool about people like you and Austin, Nate, where it's just like everybody's welcome. You know what I'm saying, Nate? It's just cool, man.
I think it's a lot of it is coming from that punk and hardcore scene because it's really built on a common interest and the rest is details, And so for me, especially being in a position where people know who you are, it's important to just be a normal dude. There's something about really hyper religious Christians that levitate that people just they don't get it. They're like, oh, this is not a real person. And so I always think it's important to, as much as I can, to just be a normal dude, you know.
I love it. Wow. Well,
I'm a
you're
normal dude. I mean,
extraordinary dude doing awesome things, man. So anyway,
There you go.
I'll leave that. But Dane, that was awesome, man. That was
Yeah,
great. We got
loved it.
one more tonight. So Nate, I thank you again for your time.
absolutely, man.
absolutely.
Dane, you know, we close on this. We got one more tonight. Speaking of extraordinary, there's an extremely positive dude stopping by. Zach from a little band called American Authors. He's up next. So you may have heard of him. Best day of my life type stuff. Great guy. So you guys, on behalf of Nate, Dane, and I, and Austin Renfro, want to thank you again for your time. Don't forget, as always, that we love you. And Dane?
Thank you for listening.